So I have said, if my goal was to preserve the Union, so if I must free some of the slaves to preserve the Union, I will free some of the slaves. If I must free all the slaves to preserve the Union, I will free all the slaves. And if I must free no slaves to preserve the Union, I will free no slaves. So at that time, I did not free any of the slaves. Volunteers came forth, and they joined the Union Army to fight the rebellion. As Mrs. Lincoln said, in the summer of 1862, I took to my cabinet the Emancipation Proclamation. Ladies and gentlemen, at that time, the United States was losing the war. The Confederacy was winning. We had not won any major battle. But through up to ready to present the Emancipation, I have studied and I have looked at the slave issue. Of all the slaves, of all the Africans that was taken out of the African continent across the Atlantic to be sold into slavery, 40+% was sold in Brazil. 40+% was sold in the Caribbean. And 5% was sold in the United States. And I look at our country and I see the slave institution here in our country, how large it is growing. And so I know now that this institution of slavery must be destroyed. And so when I take it to the cabinet and they read that and they are not happy. They said, Mr. Lincoln, Mr. President, Abraham, if you do this, you have said your goal was the preservation of the Union. Now you want to free the Negroes out of slavery. You will have mass desertion in the Union Army because you asked for volunteers to fight the rebellion, not free the slaves. Well, I'm standing on eggshells. At this time, freed colored men are joining the Union Army and the Navy. They're making up colored regiments. They're fighting to preserve the Union. So, on January the 1st, 1863, I signed the Emancipation Proclamation. And with the Emancipation Proclamation, I declared all slaves in the states of rebellion to be free and forever free. I did not free all the slaves. I did not free the slaves in the states of Missouri, Kentucky, Maryland, and Delaware. If I had freed all the slaves in these states, most likely these 4 states, at least 3 of them would have seceded from the Union and joined the Confederacy. And if Maryland had left the Union and joined the Confederacy, our capital of Washington City would have been in the Confederate States of America. So, I have done that, and a few days ago, the war has begun to end at Appomattox Courthouse in Virginia. We still have slavery in this country. It's still legal. I have not freed all the slaves. So I have proposed a few months, maybe a year ago, an amendment to the Constitution of the United States, the 13th Amendment. It was ratified by the states. It will become law, become our 13th Amendment to our Constitution, December of this year of 1865. With the 13th Amendment to the Constitution, slavery will be officially abolished forever in the United States of America. So from the ashes of the Civil War, before the war, we was the United States of America. But from the ashes of the Civil War, we are going to grow and become truly the United States of America.
Abraham?
I know you wanted me to tell about that court case.
Yes.
I know.
Court case.
We've been discussing this court case.
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Matson.
Yes.
Mrs. Lincoln keeps talking. We've been discussing this because I've done various court cases when I was a lawyer. And people are now beginning to question whether I really did do my best in this case. Now this was 18 years ago, Mrs. Lincoln. But anyway, this happened 18 years ago, and she keeps telling me I need to come and really come clean of this. But anyway, the case was back in, I believe, Oakland, Illinois, and the trial was going to happen in Charleston. Well, as I remember what had happened, this man, the slave owner, had brought some of his slaves out of Kentucky into Illinois and decided to stay for a while on some of his property, a couple of years. Well, anyway, the question wasn't over the slaves passing through Illinois because we had the black law. It was whether he was allowed to stop and keep them in Illinois and work them as slaves. Well, anyway, I really didn't know if I wanted the case, but with my name and my honesty, a couple attorneys, a couple judges brought me into the case. Well, to make a long story short, I won a seat in Washington on the legislature. And I looked at the date of the trial, and I thought, well, after the trial, a couple of weeks, I'm going to be going to Washington. My stepmother, some of my family lives in the Charleston area. So if I take Mr. Matson's case and I go to defend him, I'll be in the area, I'll be able to see family, get paid as a lawyer, and go to Washington. Well, when I found out more details on it, and that he was a slave owner, and I want you to know this is the only time that I ever defended a slave owner, and the only time I ever will defend a slave owner. But anyway, to make a long story short, as I remember, I lost the case. Now, people is questioning, did I really put forth my best effort in this case? Well, I'm going to let the people make up their mind. If I lost the case, so by losing the case, the slaves were set free. They was allowed to stay in Illinois, and I believe they immigrated to Liberia. Now, if I had won the case, these Negroes would have been kept in slavery, and they would have been taken back to Kentucky. So, did I really win, or did I lose the case? But these people were set free, and they was allowed to immigrate to Liberia. So, I'm just letting the people make their minds up. But anyway, the worst thing that could have happened at the end of the Civil War was the assassination of Abraham Lincoln. Now, I got one little speech, and then I'll be finished. But people know a lot of Lincoln's speeches, his Gettysburg Address, everything like that. But the one speech that Lincoln gave that he spoke from the heart, and that was the night or the afternoon when he left Springfield, Illinois, on February the 11th, 1861, as President-elect Abraham Lincoln. When they went to the railway station, his wife, two of their sons, as Lincoln stood on the back of the railway car looking out into what he thought would be a small crowd, was a large crowd of people. Lincoln had no written words. So Lincoln spoke from the heart, common, ordinary words. And I think this is the speech that truly is Abraham Lincoln. So as he stood on the railway car looking out at the people of Springfield, he said, "My friends, no one, not in my situation, can appreciate my feelings of sadness at this party. To this place and the kindness of these people, I owe everything. Here I have lived a quarter of a century, and have passed from a young to an old man. Here my children have been born, and one is married. I now leave not knowing when or whithersoever I shall return, with a task before me greater than that rested upon Washington. With that assistance of that divine being who attended him, I cannot succeed. With that assistance, I cannot fail. Trusting in him who can go with me and remain with you and be everywhere for good, let us confidently hope that all will yet be well. To his care I commend you, as I hope your prayers will commend me. I bid you an affectionate farewell. Goodbye, my friends. Goodbye. Those was the final words of Abraham Lincoln when he left Springfield, Illinois. Lincoln did not have a copy of the speech to give to the press, so the press, the reporter aboard the train car, asked Lincoln to write the words down. Lincoln started writing on a piece of paper, very scribbly because the railway car is rocking. He hands the paper to his secretary to finish the words as Lincoln repeated them. That's why if you look at that document, you'll see two handwritings. That's why. So with that, enjoy the rest of your evening. You've been a great group. And if you see these people around with these brown t-shirts on, these are the volunteers that have worked very hard to plan all of this. And with you people being here, that's what they want. So if you see them, if you like what's going on, let them know. Okay? Enjoy your evening.